Hello, welcome back to your astrology weather. This is Carrie Astro Breeze, and today I want to look at another big alignment that we have. We got quite a few of them this year. This is going to be a really, really rock and roll year. We're also getting a lot of sunspot activity. Um, it is just sending so much, more plasma, some more charged particles toward Earth. So a lot of these aspects that we're talking about, these astrological, these mathematical connections between planets, it's like two notes on a keyboard is basically what we're looking at. We're looking at, all of these planets and sun and moon, which we kind of term planet, just from our perspective. But think of it like a note on the keyboard. And we can even put in the, ascendant, the midheaven, the north and south node. We can add Chiron in. We can get a whole lot of sound. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I got 13 here when you count north and south node. I also have Chiron in. Um, but without Chiron, this is, your all of your planets, sun, moon, and then the north and south node, the traditional. And then I just added Chiron into this mix that I pretty much look at. There's so much, but it's nicer just to kind of minimize so many things when you're looking at all these planets. So thank you. So these are the energies that we're going to be dealing with. So okay, where was I going with that? Um, the big takeaway that I would say right now is that we have thinking about all of these in harmony or disharmony with one another. Again, think about all of these as like a note on the keyboard, and they're not all played at once, where what we're looking at is the ones that are the same degrees, and we'll see what those are, and then the distance between them, which will tell us how harmonic the notes are from one another. Again, if you look a little bit about music, or even if you don't, it doesn't really matter, but your ear can hear the discordance or the harmony between two sounds. If you don't know a lot of music, the next chance you have it to, look at a keyboard, if you find any two keys and you play two right next to each other, it's probably not going to sound that harmonious. You make a little space, you skip one, and it sounds a little better. You go another one, and it may or may not. You start forming angles. You might get the square, or I should say, you start out with the semi-sextile, and then you create the sextile, then you create the square, then you create the trine, the inconjunct, the opposition, and then you go the other way. Anyway, these are what we're looking at. We're looking at these two certain notes, two or three, and then they're balanced to one another. So this is kind of the easiest way to term that. And then understanding what that is. Like in music, it would be like, well, this one and this one, and it would be this one would be the root note, and this would be so much away from it. And let's say it's the third or the fifth or whatever. Um, it just gives you something to talk about. You know that like if you have the root note and the fifth, that's going to be a certain type of energy as opposed to the root note and the third note. So if you don't know a lot of music, it's just realize that they're different combinations that will give you different results and they sound different. So these are giving us ways to talk about things. So when we look mathematically at these relationships, we we're looking astronomically and astrologically. We're looking astronomically because we're looking at the mathematical relationship, and we're looking astrologically so we can interpret it. What good is saying something is 60 degrees apart if you don't know what 60 degrees is? Is that good or bad? I don't know, right? It's just going back to applied math, applied geometry. I mean, I wish I knew this stuff when I was going through school. Luckily, I love math, but it would have made it so much cooler, so much better if I knew it had some kind of application for it. I just thought it was like little puzzles for me that was just like fun. I had great teachers, so it made all the difference. So anyway, if you don't know math, maybe get a good teacher or, have that change because it is amazing. But anyway, what we're doing here is looking at these relationships. So all that to all of that to say this a little bit. So what we couple things we have this this month, this right now. Um, I want you to think about the sun. In our perspective, it looks like the sun, circles us, right? But we circle the sun. So every year that, the sun it's looking like it's going around all of the chart. It will make aspects to all the planets. So the sun will make a conjunction to all the planets, right? It's going around. So it's going to touch each planet based on where it's at. Boom, da boom, da boom. And then each month it touches the moon, when we have a new moon, when the sun and the moon are together, it's a new moon. Okay, so look, sun and Saturn, it's the sun's annual conjunction this to Saturn, and this year it happens to be in Aries. Woohoo to all the Aries. Woohoo to fire sign energy. This is going to give you a kick and a spark and a boost. Um, I think it's kind of the structure. I mean, you have the sun, your ego, your outward energy, your who you are, and then you have Saturn there. And Saturn is, the planet that wants to structure, that wants things, that's a go-getter, that's inspiring, that wants to climb the ladder, that wants to do the success kind of thing. And we have this energy of Sun and Saturn. It's like it gives the ego a little discipline. It gives the ego a little checklist so it doesn't run amok, which is good. It's a good thing. And then this year, they're in Aries. So, wherever Saturn is, when the sun comes around, it will conjunct it where Saturn is. So it's in Aries this year, so it makes it pioneering, it makes it bold, it makes it adventuresome. I'm trying to get the good side of Aries qualities too. It makes it creative, it makes it happy. It's a spark of enthusiasm, but it could get driven. I mean, it's driven too. It could get bored and then it goes on to something else. It could get aggressive. It could get impatient. Um, those are kind of some of the signs when Aries energy gets a little bit stifled or mucked up. So use the energy and everyone else uses this energy. I mean, in the space right now, this is mundane astrology. And if you have any connections to this, if you have anything at 4 degrees Aries, and I would go either side of it. I'd go from 0 Aries maybe over to like 8 Aries, keep it maybe 4, 5 degrees. Um, you'll be feeling that. And then also there's aspects to that. What if you have something squaring it or opposing it? Consider that as well. Or trining it or sextiling it. So look at the angles, from that as well. But nonetheless, all of us have this Sun, Saturn conjunction energy. This is it in space this year. This is the energy that is ringing out for all of us. And it is maybe a bold application of moving forward. We've got Sun, Saturn. Um, it's kind of like our bodies are made spirit. Our sun, our bodies. It's that ego is coming in, and that spirit, and it's connecting the spirit and the body. Maybe it's like our bodies, our spirit made visible. There we go. And think about it, how it's a privilege to be in one. It's a privilege to be in this body. It's a privilege to be able to make good choices. It's a privilege to be able to age gracefully, it's like if you have a car, why not keep it having good oil in it? Right? Why all of a sudden you're going to start putting, crappy oil in your car or, or while, you wouldn't like put water in your mix it in with your oil, so why do we treat our car better than our bodies? I think this aspect is going to bring people's attention to their bodies, to the physical, to the spirit inside of this physical body, having the spirit, this entity, this sun in Aries, having this physical experience, Saturn in Aries. Very cool, very potent energy this year. Um, then we have another Saturn aspect here. I mean, the sun just went over Neptune this last week, right? It was 3 days ago because it's a degree day. So sun moved over Neptune, and that kind of gave us the dream. Let me just back up a second. And then it was in the middle between the two, and then now it's going over to Saturn. So we kind of are bringing the dream into reality this week, right? And then sometimes we don't quite feel it maybe for a few days after. So if it hasn't manifested, don't give up hope on that. This is like ringing about things in space. These are, putting these energies out. These are invoking this within us, setting these patterns in motion. And then this is a very beginning. We're going to get all of us are going to get a boost into maybe how the vehicle runs the car better. That's maybe the best way I can say that. All right, coming into that, now this is kind of dovetailing in that. Well, we also have had this week, we've had um, Mercury going over the North Node. Um, or I should say the North Node and Mercury meeting because we had Mercury going direct, turning and going direct. So we had that interesting, let me go back here. Oops, that interesting meet. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They're there and we have that energy. So um, basically we have that forward moving north node where we're going, okay? Um, and then we have the Mercury is in, see, I'm having trouble with it. I'm in this. This is the Piscean part of it. I should start, so I started it like blah, blah, blah. Mercury and Pisces. It stumbles over words. It is more telepathic. It's more intuitive. It doesn't really like words. It wants to put it in poetry or song or music. And going over the North Node, maybe it's getting more imaginative with where we want and where we're going. Um, or it could be making us maybe a little confused about where we want to go and where we're going because it is in Pisces and it just went direct. So we could still have a little mucking up of that energy too. So I just wanted to bring that out. Actually, I do want to just look at this. Let's go back a day. It was just a few days ago. They were like, there they are. Okay, so yeah, right on, right when the sun was just about to change. Look at like on that last Thursday, the sun was going into Aries. They just 8 degrees and 8 degrees. Look at Mercury just went direct. It was stationary, and they crossed there. So the day before, they were riding there for a week or more. Look at week ago plus on the 16th, right before St. Patrick's Day. Mercury was coming closer because they were both retrograde. And then the moon nodes move retrograde anyway. So anyway, it's been at that energy. See, we've had it there. I just got to go back a little bit. Look at it's 9 9 now, 8. Oh, there it is. Okay, so there we go, Mercury. And we're coming up to, just keep your eye on Mercury back into our little window there. Okay. Oh, it stays there. Actually, I went ahead. I'll leave it there. Um, okay, so coming into these this week, let me go back to, okay, finish this up. All right, so this energy, it's maybe coming out of the fog now, moving past this, it's separating, and then soon, what we're going to look forward to next month, and I'll get there a little bit more. You can see the pile up in Aries start to happen. Okay, so Mercury is going to get over into Aries, so that will change things. I think some of the confusion will come out, and this will separate this Mercury North Node. Even though that's lovely communications, but it retrograded in there and it turned direct, and it's in Pisces. So I think other than just the dream, the vision, I think there's a lot of confusion still. And then we're being schmoozed and mistold, and information is wrong, and then we have this lineup toward Aries, all this pile up of aggression. We're watching it in the world into Aries, and this is going to continue. But we will get there. Okay, there's just a lot right away, and then it like fizzles out, kind of Aries sort of thing. But the other really big thing that we're going to see, and we're going to kind of ride with these two, but the first one of the two, we have, the Neptune Saturn conjunction, but Saturn is pulling away a little bit, and it's pulling away, and it's now going to start to make a sextile with Pluto. All right, so if we go, let's see if we can get it there. Yeah, my little things are still there. Okay. So here we go on the 25th. There it is. They're still in there. You can see them at 5 degrees, 5 and 5. So what is that? We've got the ego again, the sun, and there we go. See the sun and this is interesting. The sun and Saturn conjunct, and then as the sun goes over Saturn, it sextiles over to Pluto. And then a couple days later, there it is, Saturn sextiles over to Pluto. So this is very powerful. Okay, so we have both of those. We have that's why I circled all this because this we have this action going on. It's like this, and both of these together make this, a little bit more. So again, we have the Sun Saturn, and then we have the Sun Pluto, right? Okay, so let's just look at that a second. So Sun um is in its let's just say it this way. The Sun is in its trine, or I mean it's sextile over to Pluto. So that's like a real nice dealing with your ego, dealing with your power. It's a nice harmonious, we've got the sun again, ego, and we've got Pluto, depth, transformation, maybe transforming part of your ego, maybe looking at the depth of things, maybe looking things depth, transformation, what needs to change, what needs to go. A lot of times Pluto is just getting rid of stuff that doesn't serve you no more, and finally you see through it, and then just like getting rid of all that, gutting the stuff out. But then what we're also going to have here is we're going to have this Saturn and Pluto sextile. This is what I'm getting to, all this buildup, riding with us for a while. And we're going to have both of these energies. So if you remember in January, they were conjunct. Let me, well, I don't want to mess it up right now. Let me get rid of this and just clear all this out of the way for a second. So what we're having is this first opening sextile. I'm going to show you something because this will make more sense. Let me go back a couple months. Let's see, it was the 23rd. Oops, 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 what am I doing? Go to, okay, so almost, let's see, it's a few days. See, this is cool. Let's go to the 20, I believe it's the 23rd. Okay, so sun, there we go. Here, let's see. And let's see where is it? Oops. Well, let's just go right back over to here. So anyway, I'll be spending too much time. I'm sorry. Uh, we had an opening, we had them conjunct when Sun and I'm sorry, Saturn and Pluto when were conjunct in God, I'm doing too many things at once. They were conjunct in Capricorn. So now that they've opened up, so if you think I'm sorry, Saturn and Pluto, so they were conjunct. Let me get this back over here, um, and I'll feel better. There we go, and go back to days. So when they were conjunct, they we're back over here in Capricorn, Sun and Pluto. Um, that was the start of their cycle. Okay, so Saturn and then Pluto, they were in Capricorn. Now Pluto has changed signs and it's moved to Aquarius, and then Saturn has now opened up in its first opening sextile. It's 60 degrees away from that initial conjunction. And when something is building, and think about like the new moon phase, it's kind of like, it's that change. It's like the new impetus. It's like that newness. It's like there's enormous pressure to change. Like our current form is like they it gives us like some distance between that power struggle of Saturn and Pluto. When they were together, that conjunction when they were in Capricorn, and that was that power struggle. And now we're separating, and we're seeing this in our world. They're outer planets, so we're seeing this measured in the world. We're seeing this old regimen die. It's like it's in the throes. It's like it has to do these things, these actions because that's all it has left. Now we're seeing this pile up, and this leads me to the pile up in Aries. This is where these old control structures are breaking down. What they wanted to do before is not working. It's like these old ways of waging war are ending. People are seeing through all the lies. And this is the opening hope of this because they both, they're both in different sides. Pluto changed signs. It went from that restrictive Capricorn to the rebellious Aquarius, totally, changing that energy. It started out one way, both of them in Capricorn. Now they're both different. I mean, it's not like one is anchored still and the other one is changing. They both shifted, of course, not only the faster planet. So that is making this is like also an interesting angle. We got to look at a few things. Not only is it sextile, which is giving us more hope, it's like more choices. We begin to see, that there's, we're getting rid of that power struggle. We can begin to see choices that are now more available to us, maybe. And we just because we see them doesn't mean that we either like them or we want them, but we're starting to see them. Okay. So that's part of that. Now, just the other thing I want to say about that, and then this is, we'll get into the last part of this month. The aspect are the planets or the signs that they're in. Aquarius is a masculine sign, Aries is a masculine sign. So they are going to be more of an outward or masculine energy. And this is what we're seeing. We're seeing these bold moves, we're seeing these countries. So many are starting to get involved, and now we have, the Neptune being in Aries. One of the things that has always stuck in my mind about that is that whenever we've had Neptune and Aries, we've had more tendency toward war. Now, we've never been away from it. We look at wars, there's happening all the time around the world, but there's sometimes a crescendo of a lot of it that there's not just like a peaceful element. I'd like to think somehow by having knowledge of a lot of this, we can become very powerful in beings of setting more powerful intentions over and not just accepting that status quo. Oh, it means war, blah, blah. It also means pioneering. It might means moving through new things and using this Aries energy in a good way. It's creative, it's new. It's like we have to get rid of these old indoctrinated ways that we've been manipulated by these old empires, these old energies. This is what this astrology is saying to me and how it's changing. So all of the stuff moving into Aries, I'd like to, we've got a parallel thing. We're seeing things in the world, but we have to be the change we want to see. We have to enable the new way of handling something, the higher road, taking the higher road in everything that we can consciously do, trying to be more consciously aware of how we handle things, our actions, and moving toward that change. I can't do anything about planes dropping bombs, but I can do something about my mouth dropping bombs, kind of a thing. And as below, so above, as above, so below, kind of energy. So interesting. Now we're moving this, into being, bringing it down a little bit. We've got the moon finishing up right now in Gemini. It's going to be going into its first quarter. You'll see it, the half the moon. We're halfway to back to our full moon, which will be the 1st of April. Right on April Fool's Day, right? Aha, that'll be fun. But anyway, it's moving into the sign of Cancer over the next few days, which will be much more emphasis on feeling, but it's going to square all of this Aries stuff. So the moon, wants to feel. It's going to be, the moon is going to say, soften up a little bit. Aries, all that Aries energy is, hey, let's get going. Come on, chop, chop, let's do it. And the sun is, I mean, the moon is like, hey, chill. At least say it with a nicer voice. Say, oh, come on. So we're going to have that little bit of cardinal energy there, but that's good. Aries needs to soften. Cancer needs to be a little bit more directed on that. So it's a good blend. But anyway, we're going to have that for coming into the end of the week. So tomorrow, um, and Thursday, the pretty much I've given you the pretty much most of the aspects. It's interesting that we have like a few days of like kind of nothing except for a few moon aspects, but then all of a sudden the planetary aspects are pretty zingers. And then one thing about the Pluto Saturn will kind of be there for a while. And then the Neptune Pluto one will definitely be there for a while. We'll get those energies kind of riding in sextile there, which would be very interesting. A little bit more beneficial waves of things. Opening hope again. It's kind of like the opening part of the moon. You're getting some excitement. You're getting some distance. You're not just right next to something. It's not right on top of you. Got a little distance. So coming into the last of this week, I've been going over part of my notes, just not sticking to the days. Let's see, I told you about that. Oh, the moon is interesting. Right here. Oh, good. I'm glad I was there. The moon going over Jupiter, I think, is going to be really good coming into Thursday. It could be exaggerated and over the top, but it could also be very much what a lot of people need. It could be nurturing and soft and large and hopeful energies. We got, moon in Cancer, it's like its home sign. Jupiter in Cancer, exalted, home and exaltation. Oh, nice. Is this nice or what? So even within a lot of the other energy that's happening, you know, your emotional state is very important. And no matter where, you are in your anything, this is a nice influence. So Thursday, try to enjoy that. Let's see, this is showing that's already after that in the afternoon. So it's probably like coming into all day. So let's just kind of say, most of the day has that influence of moon. As soon as moon goes into Jupiter, I mean, it goes into Jupiter, moon goes into Cancer, it's going to be resonating with Jupiter. So, as soon as it's there, like today, tomorrow when it kind of goes into that. So as it gets closer, because Jupiter's big, we're gonna feel that influence, which would be really nice. Let's see. And then Friday, after it goes through, then we have the moon going into Leo. So we're gonna get some kind of boost, some kind of charge. Again, we got the sun that has just gone over Saturn, so we have that structured ego. But then when the moon goes over Leo, Leo rules the sun, it may kick that in again. It may further reinforce that. I want to say that Leo energy could add drama and flair to that structure. Let me put it that way. That's probably the easiest way to say it. If that you can add structure, it's like, look how well I painted this straight line. Something like that. So that'll be interesting coming into that over the weekend. I always like Leo moons on the weekend. Um, all day Saturday, and then Sunday it moves into Virgo. So that's kind of nice. Maybe Sunday, part of Sunday, you might feel like organizing and cleaning and painting and putting things in order, kind of having a little spring fever, getting things, organized better or cleaned up to your suiting. And then we're coming into just a few things as we come into the end of the month there. I thought it was pretty interesting. Right at the end of the month, we got Venus moving into her own sign. Venus moves into Taurus right when the moon, like the next day, actually the day after, yeah, the next day, let's go there. It'll be later that day, but let's just do it this way. Right after that, the moon moves into Libra. How nice, right? Venus moves in, to her sign, and then moon moves into the other Venusian sign at the end of the month. And then, we have right there the new moon will be in, I'm sorry, full moon will be, I think 12 degrees. Yeah, there's a song's at 12 degrees. So that will be right on the 1st of April. What else will be Mars? Let's see, and then coming into next month, into April, which we'll get there, but just overview, you can look over here and you can see Mars, 23 degrees Pisces, just about ready to go into Aries, and Mercury going into Aries. Let's see if I mark these days down. Oh yeah, I said mark these down. Okay, so um, April 9th, Mars moves into Aries. That's its own sign, but that could be very aggressive. Um, April 14th, Mercury moves into Aries, and then the moon moves into Aries on the 15th. So that is, I just got to show you that. That is going to be a lineup. What did I say, the 9th? Okay, there's Mars right there. Look at Mars into Aries. Luckily, Venus moved out of Aries there, but we got Chiron here, and it's the wounded healer over there. So we still got wounds, people being wounded. All right. So anyway, here's that. Mars went in. So note that April 9th, and then um, keep looking. Mercury, boom. There's Mercury. Moon pulls ahead. Moon goes in, and then Mercury goes in. See, that's what I've said about the moon a few times. It will, before something happens, it's like a timing trigger. See, look at that. Just boom, it went right in there. And if I were to go slower, we would have seen it exactly there. But I'm doing it by the day for you. Um, so there. So that's that. And then another interesting thing we have coming up, we can see up here. So I want to just give you a little heads up ahead. We have Venus heading toward Uranus, and they're both heading toward the first of Gemini. Look at sun, the moon's coming around. Do do. Look at Mercury. I'm sorry. Uranus is just about to go into Gemini. It's right there, 29, and then Venus is going to come over. Moon swept over the two. Doop doo, and they're there. Look at them on the 23rd of April. They're conjunct there at the end of Taurus. Look at that. It's like the last little bit that Uranus has is its stay in Taurus. Venus comes over and blesses that. Then they switch places. Venus goes in first, checks it all out for the big planet, and then there it is on the 26th. Then Uranus is there. So this is going to be a quite a rock and rolling next few months. I said to give you the overview. This is kind of big stuff. And we have those sextiles in place. We have this lineup in in March and in April in Aries, but then a lot of this stuff then just moves on out. Of course, the entourage moves out. The Mercury, Sun, Mercury, Mars are all going to move out, and then we'll just still be left, with the big two there. Let me just move them all out for you. See, so now let me just move them around. Okay, we're into August here. So see, they've all moved, and then we still have these here, and then all these other planets, of course, have moved out. Let's go back a few weeks there. Of course, a lot more is going to happen, but I just wanted to show you how quickly that starts to spread out, how they move out of Aries. So there could be some testy stuff now, and then we still have these two things to live here. Things may heat up, but then somehow get swept under the carpet. So keep your eyes open on that, and have a good week. All right. Thank you for being here. Bye for now.